There has to be more to work than just a paycheck. My name is Clément Frisoni, and I am passionate about how companies manage their human capital. This is Cambodia Workwise. Each episode, I will bring you insights from the Cambodian world of work with CEOs, HR managers, human capital deciders, and people who think there is more to work than just the 9-to-5 traditional work. In this show, we will talk about HR, recruitment, and the broader Cambodian world of work. This is Cambodia Workwise. Welcome to Cambodia Workwise. It's season 2 and we are starting with a bang. My guest today is the HR leader of one of Cambodia's biggest insurance companies. Her name is Laura Cho, and together we discuss tips and advice in order to lead a successful career. Whether you are in HR in another function, this will be so useful to you. Enjoy our discussion. I am so happy to have you here.
I'm honored to be here too.
It's been a long time coming because I'm a big fan of what you do, and I've seen your presence on LinkedIn, and I really wanted to get a chance to talk to you.
Yep.
And as it turns out, you are very approachable, very friendly, and you were very excited to be part of the show.
Yep.
So thank you for being here. So Laura, you are the Chief HR Officer at Prudential.
Yep.
For Cambodia, and also Laos, and also Myanmar.
Yes.
So you told me, we were chatting before the show, that you manage 1,000 people in terms of employee population.
Mm-hmm.
Could you introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from, because
Yep.
you are not from Cambodia.
Yes.
But you work here sometimes.
Yeah.
So who are you? What do you do exactly?
Yeah. Hello everyone, to the listener. My name is Laura Cho. Just call me Laura. To the listener in Cambodia, they may think like I'm Cambodian. Actually, I'm not. I'm originally from Myanmar. So I grew up and worked in Myanmar most of my career life. But before I came to Cambodia, I used to work in Hong Kong for 2 years. And after that, I went back to Myanmar and worked with Prudential before I take on this role.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you get where you are today?
Oh, it's a great question. I have started my career in HR and I have been working in this career for over 15 years. It's a long journey, I would say. But one thing is, I always start end goal in mind, what I want to be. Of course, it didn't start like I want to become a CHRO one day, but I was like, I want to reach to the top wherever career that I will be pursuing. So I was toward that. My principle is that whatever you do, be good at it, then opportunity will come. Yeah.
So today I want to talk with you about something you know very well, which is HR, the HR function.
Yeah.
My first question for you is, whenever I talk to people in Cambodia, whether it's expats or locals or people who have worked abroad and came back here, a lot of them tell me, oh, there's a lot of work to be done on HR. When I said I'm launching Cambodia Workwise and I'm going to talk about HR, people say, oh, you have a big task ahead of you because there's so much to talk about here.
Yep.
And sometimes people feel like the HR function is a bit traditional. It's a bit too administrative.
Yep.
Some even call it just a cost center.
Yep.
Why do you think that is?
Of course, we sit in the biggest cost center. It's a people cost. But what we do should be bringing value to the organization. So from changing from administrative to value-added service, we need to change the mindset about HR. Yeah.
How do we change that mindset? I think when we talk about mindset, some of it comes from the HR themselves.
Yep.
The way they think, the way they behave can be changed.
Yep.
And also it means maybe the organization has to change the way they see them. Maybe we can start with the individual level. To all the listeners out there who are maybe starting their career in HR, who want to get it to the next level, What would you say are good things to do to change your mindset as an HR?
Yeah. So for me, I started HR because I love people. I want to support others, right? So just if you are thinking about working in HR, or if you're working in HR currently, you need to think about service mindset, because we are in people business. We are supporting others to succeed in the workplace. So I think that's a very fundamental to start with. How you can bring the value to the organization. That is one thing. Another part is that how can you become a business partner to the business, not just doing administration. Of course, there in HR function, there are a lot of administration, but the quality of our work should be adding value and profit to the organization. Give you, for example, the recruitment, right? So if we bring the qualified candidate who can fit with the role, who can take on a bigger role, then we can save a lot of money on attrition. Like people will not leave very soon, right? That kind of thing. So we have to find the places where we can add value to the business. Yeah.
As an organization, can we set up some systems or some ways of working that help HR be more business partners? Is it something that the organization itself can do?
What I want to encourage to the organization, I'm very, very fortunate to work for the organization which put people first. Which I mean by that is the organization is advocate about people, and also leaders also focus on people. So that's how the organization can support HR to be at the table to talk about people matter. Yeah.
You've been working in the function for 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that you are still here after all this time, because many HR professionals, at some point, they kind of give up.
Yeah.
They think, you know what, it's not for me, it's too tough, or I don't see how I'm adding value. In your case, personally, what gave you the strength to stay in this function all these years?
That's a very good question. I think not only in HR, in any of the career, right, there is one point that you are like, I'm done. I can't do it, because most of the time, especially during COVID and after COVID, a lot of people feel burnout and they quit their job to start something new, right? So I would say, of course, throughout my career, there are times, not just one time, right? There are times that I also want to give up. But what keep me moving is I start with why. So I always remind myself that why I started this career, why I started these roles, right? So I keep reminding myself that, oh yes, I love to support others. So I need to keep moving to support others, to see the development in others. So I would say the key point is resistance, stamina, mentally, physically. Yes.
Is HR only about dealing with people, or is there more to it?
Oh, there are a lot more. Of course, we are in people business, right? So people function, yes, HR is all about people, but on the other hand, we also have to think about the business. Business is all about profit, right? If we are working for the organization which is non-profit, then we also need to look at the profit. So how we can develop, train our employee to bring more profit or more revenue for the organization while they are also developing and growing their career along with the organization.
So we talk about helping people grow their career, right?
Yeah.
And we know that HR sometimes have to do the dirty work.
Yep.
You hire people, but you also sometimes have to fire them, and this is tough.
Yep.
So I have a few questions about this. The first one is on a personal level, when you have to make tough calls or difficult decisions for the organization, where do you find the guidance? Do you find it in yourself? Do you find it outside? Maybe a mentor? Or what's your compass when it comes to making those tough decisions?
As you mentioned, it's a good example about letting people go, right? Sometimes it's a disciplinary issue. Sometimes the person is not fit for the role. So that's the last thing I want to do in HR. But because of my role, sometimes I have to take the call, right? So in that kind of situation, at the organization level, not only me, together with the management, right? So we need to make the decision carefully, right? Before we rush into the decision. So normally we sit down with respected leaders that why we are making this decision to let people go, right? This is very important. And even if we have to let go someone, we have to treat them fairly. And also with respect, right? Sometimes you may see a lot of news on the internet that, oh, I just received email from the CEO that I was let go. It shouldn't be like that. Everyone has a feeling, so you need to respect others, right? At one point, we may not be able to work, but you never know, right? It's a small world, and we shouldn't be burning the bridges, whoever we have to deal with that. So that is at the organization level. At the personal level, yes, I am where I am today because I have people who supported me, including my family, mentor, coaches, right, bosses, everyone. So whenever I need to bounce off the idea, I always go to my close friend who know me well. Sometimes friends cannot give you advice because they may not understand your work situation. So you need to find different people for different situations to seek advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are the elements you look into when you have to make those tough HR decisions? Do you look at financials? Do you look at the equilibrium of the team? Is there a roadmap for making those decisions?
So whatever the situation it is, you have to look at the situation, why this come to this stage. And we have to assess is whether letting go is the right decision for us to do. So before we come into that, we have to make the assessment thoroughly. So for me in HR, it's very important not just listening to the one side, especially the disciplinary situation, right? So I have to listen to both the line manager and also the employee. We have to see if employee have to continue working for the organization. Will it be benefit for the employee? Will it be benefit for the organization? So if it's not benefiting to anyone, then we have to take the hard call. Yeah.
Which brings me to my second part of the question. Being in HR and the tough decisions you have to make, we are human beings after all,
Yeah.
and emotions play a big role in our lives.
Yeah.
And as an HR, sometimes you can get emotional because you have those strong decisions to make, or even sometimes it's the other way around. You're very happy because you managed to secure recruitment, or you gave someone the opportunity they wanted. What's the place of emotions in your day-to-day life as an HR?
Oh, emotion
Sorry,
is a big thing. Emotion
but-
is a big thing, I would say, right? And for me personally, it's okay not to be okay. We deal with people expectation, people emotion. For me, in HR, I am sensitive to people emotion. What I mean by that is I always observe people emotion. Even if I have to give the feedback, I look at the situation. Sometimes, right, the same feedback, but you have to look at the occasion, right? So if it's a serious topic, if somebody is not ready to receive it, then you have to hold it back. So in terms of the emotion, I am a kind of a leader who is vulnerable. For me, it's fine to be vulnerable, but most of the leaders are not because they don't want to seem like weak, showing their emotion, right? But for me, when I first came to Cambodia and we do this check-in, and I asked the team, how are you? And they said, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm great. I'm like, are you sure? So of course, it come with the practice and the time, right? So I started saying I'm stressed today because I have a lot of things going on. So when I, as a leader, start showing my emotion, people started showing their true emotion. So that's how we support each other. Yeah.
And do you think this applies specifically to Cambodia? Because I feel like, having lived here for a few years, Cambodians tend to restrain from showing emotions. They have the face that they want to preserve. So was it difficult to get them to show their emotions or talk about them at work?
So from my experience, Cambodian people are really nice. So when I first came, and knowingly, right, I fall in love with the people, right? I was like, oh my God, whenever I talk to someone, they were smiling so much and it gave me so much energy. So yes, as you mentioned, they don't want to show their emotion. They don't want to disappoint, especially to their manager, right? But at the end of the day, we are human beings, right? So if you create a safe space for them to share their emotion, just like the example that I give, right? When I start sharing I'm overwhelmed, I don't have enough sleep, then the team members started sharing it is okay to speak about our emotion. So that's how you can do that as a leader, leading by example.
Do you think all emotions are okay to bring with you at the office?
Of course not. Of course not. Workplace is not your home, right? You can't be crying and throwing things, everything. Emotional intelligence is one of the things we assess when we want to give someone an opportunity, right? If most of the time I was hard, or I even commented, right? Oh, this person is good at what they do, but they are emotionally not mature enough to take on a senior role. So I think it's very important for you to show your maturity to take on a more senior role in the workplace. So I'm not encouraging people to show their emotion at all time, but sometimes you have to be vulnerable. Not in front of everyone to show your emotion, but individual level, right? If you're going through something, it's okay to talk about it. For me, I'm a strong advocate of mental well-being because especially in Asia, we don't talk much about well-being. So for me, in my team, like, hey, I moved to new country. So we have this app called Naluri, which we provide counseling, like mental health support, right? Different.
Is this for your employees at Prudential?
Yeah, employee at Prudential. Okay. There are different platforms that you can use, right? But people seem like receiving the counseling as a taboo. In Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, similar, most of in Asia country. So when I told them that, hey, when I move to new country, I take this counseling because I don't know what to do and it's a new country, right? So I want them to see like counseling is okay. So I keep talking about to different people. Even I wrote many posts on LinkedIn that when we are sick, we say like, hey, Clement, I'm sick and I need to see the doctor. But when we are emotionally not well, we rarely say it. And we dare not to talk about we need help for counseling. It's okay.
Yeah. If I understand correctly, there is a fine line between you have to show emotions and vulnerability.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not relatable or as a leader, people will not necessarily follow you or trust you.
Yeah.
But you don't have to show too much that it's inappropriate for the office.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned the concept of emotional maturity that is taken into account for giving a promotion or a certain position to someone. How would you define that emotional maturity?
I would say there is no big things to show, but it's a small daily action to show how mature you are. For me, I normally assess people how they deal with the problem at work. Yeah, some people just complain like, oh, this is like because of my manager, this is because of the organization. But how will you find a solution, right? If you're mature enough, yes, you can talk about things which are not working well, but you also have to find a solution, right?
As I started to create this podcast, so I started thinking about this at the end of 2023.
Yeah.
And, I had big ideas like, HR should advocate for the employees.
Yeah.
And you should pay your employees fairly. And you should recruit without bias, which is all valid, No one wants to say, we are proud to have bias in our recruitment process. And the more I talk to HR leaders, people who work in Cambodia and even outside of the country, the more I realize, people act a certain way because of constraints that are waiting on them. So even with all the good intentions that you have, sometimes you cannot make it happen, or there are too many things that prevent you from making it happen.
Yeah.
And so my point with this is, as an employee, whether you work in HR or any other field, I think it's important to be able to assess a situation, see what's wrong with it, and the first step is complaining about it.
Yes.
Like that's what the natural thing everybody would do.
Victim mindset, right?
Yes, but then you can show personal maturity, but also professional maturity by saying, okay, there is a problem, I don't like it, what can I do to solve it?
Yeah.
And when you come to your manager with, hey Laura, I've seen this issue repeated over and over again, I'm not sitting well with it, I'm thinking we could have this as a solution, what do you think? I think that showcases you as a mature employee, ready for taking on more responsibilities, and I think that's how you can add value in the organization.
Exactly. So for me, one of the development action that I do with my team, whichever team that I work with, is that you can bring the issue to me, also bring a solution to me. Yeah. Right? That's how I was trained like that, right? So I think that will set you apart from others.
Yeah.
Right? In my early career, I went to my American boss and I told him that, hey, this is the issue. Can you tell me what I should do? And he was like, Laura, as your manager, don't take it for granted that I know everything.
Yeah.
Next time you come with an issue, bring your proposal. Either right or wrong, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I did the same to my team member that it's okay to talk about we are dealing with problems every day, but bring me a proposal or your idea how to solve it out, what we can do it better, right? So that's how they will start thinking, right? And also it's training their brain to think about finding a solution instead of just complaining.
Yeah. I'm observing in Cambodia is that Cambodians are so respectful.
Yeah.
They want to respect the hierarchy and their boss so much. This is such a core value to them.
Yeah.
Coming up with seeing a problem or suggesting a solution might make them look like they are stepping out of the boundaries, they are not respecting the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Is it something you've faced with Cambodian employees?
Yes.
And how do you deal with it?
So for me, when I experienced this first time, why this is very hierarchical. Even very senior person like me, the head of the department, I don't mind going to the junior person and telling that, oh, I need this information. Can you give it to me? But here, they were very scared if I go and talk to them like, oh, CHRO is coming. Did I do something wrong, right? So I also experienced that in terms of the hierarchy. So every culture has their very unique cultural norms, right? So which I respect that, but we also have to find a way at the workplace how to make more efficient while you are respecting the culture.
Yeah.
So you have to create an environment where we still respect the culture, but we also need to work efficiently.
Yeah.
If you're following hierarchy all the time, it's very time consuming.
True. This is going to sound like a basic interview question, but
It's
where do
okay.
you see yourself in like 5, 10, 15 years career-wise? Is it something that you think of?
So I always dream of becoming a CHRO when I understand more about HR, right? That used to be my career goal. I learned the lesson the hard way is that when I become a CHRO, on the first day, I was not happy. Then I talked to my friends, right? I worked for this for so many years and now I become a CHRO and I'm not happy because I feel like my mission has complete.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to look for. Of course, I can take on a bigger role as a CHRO, but it's not exciting for me, right? So the lesson that I learned is that yes, you need to have a career goal, but you also need to enjoy the journey, not about the destination. So if you ask me what is my next goal or like where I see myself for 5 year or 10 year, I don't have that. But I'm enjoying the journey, doing what I love doing. Yeah.
Okay.
So it will bring me to a greater things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. As Cambodia is changing, among all the functions inside HR,
Yep.
which ones do you think are the ones that will bring the more value to this evolution of Cambodia?
So in a Cambodia context, I'm very, very hopeful, which I have been sharing with all the local people, is that for the people here, because as a country, right, if you look at the very, very developed country, it's all about human resource, right? The technology, AI, yes, these are all advanced, but who made that? It's by human, right? So I think as a country which is on the right track to go to the next level, I think human resource is very important. So in HR, come back to HR, people development, talent development function is the most important function for the Cambodia context, because we have young people who are very, very willing to learn, who are very curious to learn about the organization, the job, different careers, but they need people who can systematically support them to take on a bigger roles. So I would say talent development is very important, which I'm very passionate, and I have been doing this with my current organization to promote more local people to take on a senior roles.
What are, for instance, actions that you set up for the talent development team that you worked with, or in other organizations that you see setting up, just to give people an understanding of what talent development is?
Yeah.
What are the things that they do and what actions that they set up today for getting the talents ready for tomorrow?
Yeah. So it's a very broad topic. Trainings are good, coachings are good, mentorings are good. But when we talk about talent development, people automatically think like it's a training, another leadership training. But for me, it starts with conversation. So I spend most of my time as much as possible to talk to employees, right? To talk to my colleagues, try to understand them as a person first. And everyone has their own story. Everyone has their inspiration, right? To reach to the bigger roles, the more senior roles. So I think understanding the person individually is very important. And based on that, you can come up with different tools and techniques to develop them. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to go into the talent development.
So it's first about talking to that person, understanding them, what motivates them, what are their strengths and the things that they need help on. And from there, building a tailored program. How do you scale that on 1,000 employees to oversee? I can see myself do that with a team of 3 or 4 people. You have like 1,000 times that. How do you scale this in a big employee population?
Very good question. Even though I love to do it, of course, I can't cover all the 1,000 employees in the organization across 3 countries. you have to create a ripple effect. So one of the things that we are focusing this year is to train the first time manager, especially this line manager, right, to become a people manager. What I mean by that is most of the time people got promoted to the leadership position, managerial position, because they are good at what they do as an individual contributor. So when you assign them as a team lead manager, right, they struggle, right? And people leave the organization, you may know this one also, not because of the organization, but because of their manager, right? So the better you train their manager how to become a people manager who interested in their team member development, their career, even outside of work, right, personal matter, then people will stay with the organization. So it's very important to create a ripple effect. HR is facilitating.
Yeah.
It's not only HR job. So when we talk about people development, like people think that it's an HR job, HR will do it. Of course, we can't do for everyone, right? So we have to train people who can do together with us to create a ripple effect to cover the whole organization.
I think that's an interesting point that you made on the middle management, their importance, and sometimes the lack of skills.
Yes.
Because there's been a few articles on the French LinkedIn community that I follow last year where they were saying, we promote people to manager titles because they've been good at their job.
Yeah.
But what took you to that manager role, what made you successful to become a manager, is not what will make you successful to be a manager. So it's a different skill set.
Yes.
And you need to kind of start from scratch.
Yeah.
I see many Cambodians who are striving for that fancy manager title because it makes them proud and it's great. But it's also something that you have to understand that becoming a manager is not the same as being one, and different skill set will be needed.
Exactly.
So go to your HR and seek for advice
yes.
on how to become a better manager.
Yeah.
True. Laura, we are slowly coming to the end of this discussion.
Yeah.
Is there a question I didn't ask you or a theme we didn't talk about that you wish I had asked about?
Yes, one of the things that I want to share, of course, which we don't cover here, is that I'm a woman, right? And to become to the senior position, it's not easy, I would say, compared to men, right? So I would say my sharing from my experience to the fellow women out there, right? It's okay. We can take on senior role, right? Of course, we need more representation at the leadership level, but build your confidence, right? In order to build your confidence, you need to build your competence. It's same for both men and women, but especially for women, right? So the more competent you are, the better you will become, and the better opportunity will come to you. I wish more people aim for the stars and reach for the stars.
Yeah. It's also something you have to do and get used to doing. It's valid for both men and women, but I think women do it even less, is do your job, but also let people know what you do.
Yes.
Because you can't just expect people to come to you and, hey, you're great, let me give you a promotion. It can happen.
Yes.
It happens, that's true.
In rare occasion, with the good bosses.
With a good boss, but if you wait for it to happen,
Yeah.
it might never be the time for it. So do go out there, inside and outside of your organization, and tell about the work you do.
Yep.
It's not bragging. It's about taking care of your own career and making sure you are recognized for the work you do.
Yes. That's why I'm a strong advocate of personal branding. It's not about bragging what you are good at. It's about letting people know what you are good at. And you can use different platforms, right? The social media, the offline, the networking, so that people notice you, what areas that you are good at. Then the rest will take care of itself.
When you do personal branding, so we both post on LinkedIn quite often, telling about your work, and you have to be aware that maybe for you something is obvious, and you wouldn't dare talking about it because you're like, everybody knows that. But you would be surprised about the amount of people who are in a different career path or a different career level who would not have thought about that or need to be reminded. And so don't be afraid to share about what you do and how you do it.
Yes.
One final question that I end my interviews with is, what do you wish for the future of Cambodia?
I don't want to say it wish, but I'm very, very hopeful for the people and for the country, because the country is on the right track already. So, of course, more investment will come in. The country will be on a developing stage, right? people also need to get ready for it. Build your skill set. When the opportunity comes, right, then you will able to grab it.
Laura, thank you so much for making some time. You are very, very busy, but I'm so grateful that you could come here and talk to me and the audience today. So thanks, and see you next time.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
Great.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode until the very end. I hope you enjoyed this discussion with Laura Cho. What do you choose to remember from this episode? My key takeaway is the space that emotions take in work. And yet, this is something none of us has ever been taught at school. We need to learn to master our emotions. This is so important for a successful journey in corporate life. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time for another episode of Cambodia Workwise.